than the other community meetings? Because I don't remember seeing other people unless they were talking.
Panel, they'll see 4 or 5 different ones.
All right, somebody's calling me. Hello?
Okay, I'm gonna kick us off. My name is Eric Smith, Director of Communications for the Ames Community School District. I wanna thank everyone for coming to this Fellows Elementary Specific Return to Learn informational meeting. We know that there's a lot of questions around, really what does Return to Learn look like? And so this meeting is supposed to be able to answer questions that are specific to Fellows Elementary. I'm gonna go through a couple of housekeeping items before I send it over to the Fellows Elementary team. As far as tonight goes, the team at Fellows, they're gonna do a quick presentation. They're gonna go over some things that are in their Return to Learn plan. And then later on this evening during this meeting, we're also gonna have time for question and answer. With that, there's going to be 2 ways that you can do that. So the Fellows team is going to be monitoring the Q&A that's at the bottom of the screen. So if you do have a question, you can type it into there. We will also have an opportunity for the participants on this Zoom meeting a little bit later to be able to raise their hand and ask their question in person. And so once we get to that point, I will be monitoring those who raise their hand and providing permissions as far as who can ask that question. But we think having both options is really valuable. And so for the Fellows team, if you do see a question in the Q&A and it's pertinent to what you're talking about, you can feel free to jump in and answer those questions right away. We really want this to be as informationally rich as we possibly can. If you did have a chance to see our timeline this week, we are doing 8 of these over the next 3 days. And so this is the second one today that we are hosting, and we do have another one after this meeting. And so for that reason, we're going to try to really limit it to about 1 hour and 10 minutes, because then we got to turn around and prepare for the next building meeting as well. The final thing that I wanted to point out is they're going to be talking about a lot of things in their Fellows Elementary Specific Return to Learn plan. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, and if you are on your computer, I'm gonna very quickly show you where you can find that on our website. So if you go to ames.k12.ia.us, right here is Return to Learn. From there, if you scroll down just a little bit, you can hit Plan. And from there, you can find actually all of our Return to Learn plans for all of our school buildings. But for here, you can click on Fellows Elementary, and it's going to be right in here. So with that said, I am going to kick it over, really probably the remainder of the time, to the team at Fellows Elementary.
All right. Am I unmuted? Am I good to go? All right, sounds like I'm good. All right, thanks for being here today. I wanted to introduce the team members we have here with us. We got Mary Morton, our assistant principal here, Lindsay Ritchie, new learning lead for us. Julie Brammer is on, and Kathy Arnold, our 2 nurses, are those last 2 that if there's going to be any kind of in-depth question on the CDC guidelines or anything like that, that's what they're there for. But we really want to kind of stay away from those types of questions because this is really how the plan is going to be implemented here at Fellows. And so the less district type questions we have, the better today. If we can keep them specific to Fellows, that would help us, help everybody just to understand how things are going to be implemented here in this building. So I guess I will start by sharing my screen here. Just give me a second. Am I good on there?
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. With the Fellows Elementary, these are some of the topics. I really put a slideshow together here. The fellows team put the slideshow together really so that we could publish this on maybe Facebook or somewhere here in the near future. So these are linked to where if you have certain things you want to look for, you can go ahead and click on those. But we'll go ahead and I'll just go through every slide today. I have about 25 slides. Some of them will take a little bit longer than others. Some I'll just go over because it's really explaining what I've already talked about, and there's no sense in wasting that time. As far as our objectives here today, I want the fellows families to have a better understanding of how the district's return to learn plan is going to be implemented here in this building. Each one of the buildings here in the next few days will be going over their own plan. Some of the information is similar. Others are completely different because we're different buildings. And we have different needs and different sizes and those things. So the other objective is that I hope that parents and guardians of fellow students will be prepared to make an informed decision of what model they want to choose for this school year. And I would hope, and I'm going to plug it about 2 or 3 times today, that if you are ready to make that determination now, I would like you to get on the website and make that determination. The longer we wait, the harder it is for us to plan. I know the deadline is Friday, so the 21st. So, but hopefully if you know today, please make that call. So here on the important dates to remember here at the beginning of the year. So a lot of these things you didn't know about. So I'm going to just talk about each one in a little bit of depth here. August 21st, that's what I just said. It's a registration deadline. If you know which model you want to register for, please do so. August 24th is going to be, here at Fellows, we're going to have an introduction to staff. Slides go out. A lot of our before school activities that we would normally have done at Fellows, just traditionally have done here, are going to be canceled. A lot of them are in person or they're in the building. And right now we want to make every attempt to start school in the best shape possible. And that's in doing so, we can't be bringing people on campus too early. Really, we want, instead of giving you guys a tour or meet the teacher or drop off your items before school starts, we're going to send out an introduction to the staff slideshow where you can find your teacher, read about them, know what they like, they dislike, those sorts of things. So that's August 24th. I hope to have those out by then. What I really wanted to do, if I had a date where I knew your class rosters would be coming out, I would pair it with this coming out the same day. I just don't know right now the exact date on that. I know the deadline is the 21st. Sometime beginning of the week or that next week, we should know class rosters. But hopefully I'll have that introduction to staff slideshow ready to go out on Monday. We can get it out. You guys can, peruse through it. While you're waiting for those class lists to come out. August 31st to September 4th, we will have welcome back conferences this whole week scheduled. And that will be scheduled by, if it's an IEP team that needs to get together, the IEP teacher may set those up themselves. Otherwise, classroom teachers will be calling, or we will have some automated way to sign up for conferences. That isn't all decided yet, but we're going to get the signups done so that we can have conferences that week and we can answer individual questions and we get to know your student a little bit better, but also answer individual questions that you may have that this slideshow doesn't necessarily take care of, that and maybe more personal questions. So that's what those conferences are for. On September 3rd, here at Fellows, we are going to have a welcome back reverse parade, kind of similar to the way they ended the year last year, from 4 to 5:30 this day. PTO is looking to do some sort of ice cream social. We don't know if we're going to be able to pull the ice cream off. Don't know the weather, but we will. They'll be doing something with us. It's more of a drive-through thing. Nobody will be getting out of cars. We won't be doing anything. So we'll have some more information on that. We'll push out through Facebook. September 8th, that is the start date for all models of learning, whether you choose to go 100% online, you choose to do hybrid, those two choices there, both of them start September 8th. We do plan to have some sort of virtual tours come out. The teachers, when they come back, will be working on those sometime during the week, and they'll come out after, after we know which teachers you have, we'll have those and we'll publish them. So those are important dates to remember. Next, I just wanted to give everybody a clear understanding of what choice we're telling you that you have at this point. So district-wide, we have one option of being online 100% of the time. And I'll go through some of those bullet points, give you a little direction. We will come back to this model later when I talk about instruction during the online learning to give you a little more detail, but this will get us started. And then the phased hybrid, which is the normal, the only other option you have is 100% online or our phased hybrid model, just those two. And so the phased hybrid model, there's going to be the first month will look a little bit different than the rest of the school year. And then there may be times where we might have to go back and forth depending on what our numbers look like in Ames and in the school. So, but I will pull up, so some things just keep in mind. We will, the 100% online right up here, we will be taught by an Ames teacher. And I don't know if that will be a fellows teacher or not. We have to take a look at some of the numbers at each building and decide that, but it will be taught by an ACSD staff member. We will have live and independent learning activities on this 100% online learning. What that exactly looks like, I will have a slide later that just gives you an idea on what a sample might look like. But really the classroom teacher is going to have to build that. So it may look a little bit different. Students will have access to accommodations. That's a common question we've been getting. During those that week-long set of conferences we'll be setting up, we will be making any accommodation changes to IEP or 504s that we need to in order to make sure that we're still serving those children with their needs, knowing that they won't be here. We may have to adjust some minutes if they're not going to be here for 4 or 5 days a week. You know, if they're only here one day that first month, we might need to put some little adjustments to their accommodations there. Can we enter this model at any point during the year? Yes, you can. That's very clear. You can, if you want, you choose a phased hybrid, but things aren't looking good and you just think, you know what, I feel safer to go online. At any point, you can let us know. And that'll be a fairly quick turnaround to online learning. To go back to hybrid takes a little bit more time. So then I'll start talking about phased hybrid a little bit. We will start in this phased part of the hybrid where we'll only have 25% capacity. What that really looks like, I'll show you a picture here in a minute. It's going to be your child, basically, the regular ed student would come to school 1 day a week, 25% capacity. We're really trying to build in some time for us to get used to this, figure out exactly how we want to, make some tweaks and changes to how we're teaching, and also to see, is this working in the building, to kind of slowly phase in rather than just jumping in with 50% capacity and realizing we have trouble being safe in different times during the day. So this will help get us a nice solid base before the second month, we're hoping, if everything looks good, to get to 50% capacity then. We can switch, you can switch to this model throughout the year. Monthly, I think, is what the district is giving you. If you are you will need to let us know if this sticks, that it's the last Monday of the month. You will need to let us know that you are wanting to go to this phased hybrid model. If you're in the online learning, you let us know you want to go over, then it gives us a week. That cutoff will be that last Monday. So if you tell us Tuesday, you'd have to wait another month. So and then we would have a week to get that figured out, because there's a lot of logistical things with teachers that'll be teaching online. They may have to move to a classroom at some point, depending on what our numbers look like. So it'll give us a week to get that all figured out. And then you would be able to start the first Monday of the month in this phased hybrid model. So students will also have access to accommodations, IEPs and 504. Those adjustments will be made at those conferences. So here's just an example of the calendar, what did it look like during the phased hybrid approach. Is this first chart up here. Let's just say your student is a 2, right? Your student is a 2. During this first month, you would come all on the same Tuesday. Then the second month, that's when we get to what you guys, a lot of people are used to this A-B model, but the middle school, that gets confusing at the middle school. So for us, this A-B, the blues here are A's and the 3-4s, the green here are B's. They merge together later on. We incorporate the Wednesdays in after this first month. And just so everybody knows, this will, after this first month, will comply with the state mandated requirements that have been put forth by us. Right now, we aren't necessarily in that because, well, Wednesdays, we're kind of reserving that time to make sure that we're meeting kids' individual needs, as well as making sure that we're able to get our teachers the time to prepare for some of these online lessons that they're going to have to be putting out. So you can go back and read some more of this information later. I am going to try to speed this up a little bit since I'm only on slide 5. And we want a lot of time for question answers, so that's why I'm trying to speed up a little. Now, at any point, those are your choices, those two. I'll go back. These are your choices: online learning, 100%, or phased hybrid. Now, during the school year, let's just say we have an exposure to COVID and we have to go into quarantine, or during the winter, we end up having a snow day, or it could be any unforeseen reason we have to shut a classroom down or the building down in general. So if we do that, then we will go to possibly a 14-day, if it's a quarantine, it may be a 14-day continuous online learning model. Now, in this model, it is going to even look a little bit different than the other two. We now have teachers that are not worried about doing any in-class instruction. They're doing everything online. So now it opens up the possibilities to have some live classes as well for those hybrid kids. So for those 14 days, we could go to some live lessons, some recorded lessons, some individual practice opportunities. So that's how this model is really different than the hybrid model. And to be honest with you, this model would look very similar to the 100% online learning that you may have chosen for your student to begin the school year. It'll look similar, but it could be different. A little bit different, but the decision-making matrix here, I just saw this yesterday at the board meeting, and I think it was pushed out. So it's there. If you guys, I'm not going to talk too much about it. It's more of a district level thing. This is how they're making their decision on whether we are in hybrid, whether we go to 100% in-person learning, or we stay in that remote, we go into that continuous remote online learning. And that's what the pink is. So you guys can read through that another time. That's more of a district level item. So let's see, what else didn't we cover here? Excuse me. Teachers will be free for live lessons, sample of the day. This is, again, just a sample of the day. This isn't exactly how it would be structured. But you could have time, if you wanted to structure your day to where you need to be in class at these times, that would be great. Anytime that there is a live class, I've been told that anytime there's a live class, that could be recorded, or there could be another option for if that student can't necessarily follow the schedule, that would be an opportunity for them, but they may have either that class recorded, or they might be able to offer another option there that would be pre-recorded. So again, just a sample document. The times don't necessarily reflect what a teacher would put in, and it could be maybe one day's all remote for some reason or another, and there's no live. Then these could be done in any order and any time frame. So, and I think I have something similar document to show you later on. So 100% online learning. This is mainly to help those that aren't in the presentation if they are reading through. So I'm not going to spend much time on it. But there's live and recorded lessons there. If you are ready to make that decision and this is the model you want, here is the request form. Please click on it and sign up. The earlier we know, the better. Phased hybrid model. Here's another view of what that would look like. We know Labor Day throws a wrench into things right off the bat. But it is what it is. We have to work with the schedule the way it is here. So the 8th is a 2-day, these 2s, and then the 1s and 2s would come together. This is just the phased in portion of it. Then after that, they would come these 2 days and every other Wednesday. Going on. So throughout our plan at Fellows, these are some of the things that we've put into place just for health and safety purposes. You're going to see, well, a lot of parents won't see. We're not going to allow a lot of not going to allow very many visitors inside the building. We're going to discourage most of that. So a lot of you won't see some of the signage we put up or these one-way, we're trying to get one-way traffic flow through the building as much as possible. So we added some one-way signage in the building. We have 6-foot dots at any water filling stations. The drinking fountains will be turned off. And 6-foot dots in the restrooms where we could get them put down. And then these mitigation signs that you actually see here to the right, they are some examples that every classroom will have. They're around the buildings, and teachers will be using them as teaching tools throughout the year, throughout the day, to remind students of some of these things. So the nurse, some of the things we had to do differently in the nurse's office. We had to have 2 rooms, a sick room and a well room. The sick room, anybody with any COVID type symptoms would go to the sick room. And then anybody that has bumps and bruises are going to be basically triaged in the classroom. But if there's something a little bit more major that the classroom teacher's not as comfortable dealing with, there will be another room that in our building we will be staffed by a health associate for part of the day. Will not be there all day, so Nurse Brammer will, her focus will be on the sick room as of when I put this together. This could all change. Again, everything that I'm talking about is fluid. If we feel that it is unsafe to do any of these, or there's a better way to do it, we may be making changes. So, ice packs, we're going to push those ice packs into each of the wings. The teachers will have access to those in each of the different wings of the building, so that those ice packs can be utilized without sending them down to the well room. As much as the teachers can take care of in the classroom, they will do that. You're going to see themes in our plan. The 3 biggest ones are cohorting. We're trying to keep a group of kids together for most of the day, so that if we do have some exposure, we can quarantine a class and feel pretty comfortable that they haven't been exposed to other classes. Very, very common in school planning from what I've been reading. Social distancing, when we're going to try to social distance as much as possible. We know that won't always be possible, and therefore the district is requiring masks for our students. And so that we are able to get 3-4 foot distances in some cases when we just can't social distance 6 foot, but we'll have masks on, and that should help mitigate COVID-19. So those are some of the things that we've done in our building. I just go through for those people who aren't able to listen and describe some of the different signage here. The nurse's well room. The one thing I didn't go over was we do as a district, go back. We do as a district have permission to quarantine a classroom if possible, and I believe a building if possible. It'd be the time that we need permission from the state, or we'll actually use our own guidance that we created earlier on that slide, that we will decide if we need to quarantine the district and go completely remote. We will make that decision with the matrix that was provided. So we do have this permission from the state, though, to quarantine classrooms. Cohorting and social distancing, we already discussed those. All right, so I'm going to walk you through a day here at Fellows, just to give you an idea on what it'll look like. Each grade level is going to be have a designated entrance to the building, and for the most part, they will exit the building with the same from the same entrance. There is an exception we'll talk about, but I'll bring it back to the slide in a minute. Let me bring this up. So here's Fellows Elementary, sky view of it. Let's just go through bus students. If you're getting bused to the building, your bus will come to the bus drop-off zone. And when the Durham drivers allow you to leave the bus, you will get off your bus and you will walk to the entrance that is designed for your grade level to enter. So kindergarten's not going to have to walk very far. Anybody getting off the bus For kindergarten, just go straight into the building and into their classrooms, right? And so this is the kindergarten bus entrance is very easy. The ones that will have to do a little bit of walking, but our kids are tough, they can do it. Second and third grade will walk down the front of the building. All traffic flow will go this direction. Nobody will be walking this way. So second and third kids will come up to the second entrance. Some people are calling it a bike rack entrance, and some people are calling it an elevator entrance. So but this is that entrance here. And then any 4 or 5 students will exit the bus. They will have the farthest to walk, but we trust our 4th and 5th graders to be able to get to the back of the building here and enter through this recessed door. They will then go up the stairs right away, and then they will be in their wing of the building. 2 and 3 will come in. They will go directly to their wing of the building. And K1 is the only one that has 2 drop-offs, and that's because we don't want kindergartners walking against this flow of traffic. Parents, if they drop them off, they will go in the main entrance. And those are the kindergarten and first drop-off students are the only ones going in the main entrance. Everybody else gets out, walks to their entrance, gets out, walks to their entrance, up the stairs. And that's how we'll enter the building. We will have some signage at each of these entrances to help you. So if somebody didn't see this presentation, it should be visible to everybody. Plus, we're going to try to have as much staff out here as possible. And this is the benefit of having this phased-in hybrid model. We just feel as though the drop-off won't be as crazy at Fellows as it has been in the past with 25% of our students here for this first month. It's going to give us some time to troubleshoot and work out the bugs in any of this drop-off arrival time. So that is how we're going to get into the building. Now, I am going to ask that if at all possible, please do not drop your kids off before 8 o'clock in the front of the building. We will not have any supervision before 8 o'clock. If it's possible that I can get some supervision out there before 8 o'clock, we will, but as of right now, we do not have that. The building doors will not open till 8:10. At 8:10, and this, I think that's uniform across the district on the elementary buildings, 8:10, the doors will open and those students will enter their entrance and go straight to their classroom areas. Teachers are going to be expected to be in their classrooms at 8:10. Just so you know, they will be supervised while they're in there. So that is arrival. After arrival, here's a little bit of a breakdown of the day. 8:10 to 8:30, the teachers are going to be in their rooms. There will be some sort of morning activity. I'm really leaving this up to the classroom teachers, something to keep the students busy, but they will not be missing anything if they don't show up till 8:30. Just so you guys understand that, any curriculum materials. So this is when I'll talk a little bit about breakfast. So during this time and the details, we're changing things a little bit to be able to convenience everybody involved. Students should be able to request lunch that morning. It sounds like we're not going to have to put in an order early, which we originally thought we might. So if the student gets breakfast, they will be charged for that breakfast, but it will all be done there in the morning. But those breakfasts will be brought to the classroom. They will not go to the cafeteria to get their breakfast. The breakfasts will be pretty simple. They'll be good breakfasts, but they will just all be pre-bagged lunch or breakfast, and they won't really have a choice in the morning. Like maybe they have in the past. So the breakfast will be brought to them, and then they can, if they get there at 8:25, they should be able to have a breakfast and eat it during the beginning of their morning meeting and finish it. We'll give them a certain amount of time they need to finish that in. So that's how we're trying to keep people out of the cafeteria and mixing between classrooms, and so that'll help. From 8:30 to 8:40, we'll start the day with instruction, but it's a morning meeting. I think that's been a push the last few years here to have a structured morning meeting, really get to know our students and build relationships with them. This is going to be important to keep keep going because for the first month, we're only going to see them in person that one time. This is going to be very important that we're utilizing any chance we get, we're going to be trying to build relationships with those children. So 8:40 to 10:45, that's just a sample example. Some people may have a morning recess in there. Some grade levels may have a morning recess if they're eating lunch later. Some may not. It all just depends on how, but mainly we're going to start the instruction, and I have a whole slide that talks about the instruction here in a minute. The last one, lunch and recess. So when I built this slide originally, lunch, we had everything set, and then obviously things changed on us. And so tomorrow morning, we are going to be working out our lunch and recess blocks. With Fellows being such a large building, it is important that, that is kind of our building. We have to get the lunch and recess time built for supervision purposes before we can do any of the classroom scheduling. So I know we're behind on that. That would normally be done way in advance, but we really have to wait until the 21st before we can really solidify any of that, because that's when after next 24th, 25th, whenever we get those class lists, we'll know how many sections we have that'll be going through the lunch line and how many supervision classes need to be supervised. But dig into lunch a little bit. Students will be able to go to the cafeteria to get their lunches. They will still have choice in what they choose. It will be similar to lunches that have been provided in the past. Everything will be individually wrapped and eventually put in a bag, and the student will take the bag back to the classroom. So I picture it like a fast food. That's kind of how things will be individually wrapped and put in the bags, but they will have choices on what they want. And then they will go back to the classroom. Since they will not be wearing masks during that time, that is why we're not allowing them to eat in the cafeteria at this time. We can only fit about 3 students at a big table in order to socially distance properly without a face mask. So the best place to do that is in the classroom at this time. So because we can get close to 6 foot. So students will be able to take their masks off during lunch and will be able to eat. And they will, if they are asked to clean up their space afterward, it'll be soap and water. We will not at Fellows be asking anybody to use Clorox wipes, any students to be using those. That will all be used by our staff. So, and then recess would either be before or after lunch. And so the details, again, like I said, need to be still worked out. All right, so getting into instruction a little bit, and this is hopefully this is some good information for you so that you can make a decision here tonight, even if possible, because the 21st is the deadline to make this choice. If you choose on the 22nd, I believe that will be too late. That's what I'm hearing, is that if you decide you want to go 100% online learning on the 22nd, we won't be able to accommodate that because we're going to be splitting up the class lists and getting all that organized. So you would have to wait until the beginning of the following month to be able to get into this. No, excuse me. I got to work through that a little bit. I think I might be confused on some things. So, but anyway, you need to designate that right away so that we have our class list. I think that might be too late at the 22nd. The curriculum will be uniform, not perfectly uniform, but it will correlate with the hybrid model. So I think that is really important for parents to understand. We're still going to be using reading units of study, writing units of study, foundations, envisions. Those we will be using. And a lot of those have some online components to it that we're going to be utilizing and purchasing for the district to use. Some of those can be personalized per classroom. Some of them may be 15-minute lesson that's given to the class, and then the teacher extends the lesson and does some other, gives them some individual practice opportunities after that. So we know that there will be some materials that we may need to get home. Right now, we're collecting a list of what those materials are. And then those parents that are choosing 100% online, we're going to make a connection with you guys either during that conference time to let you know when we need to pick those up, or when we're going to get those home to you, however that happens. But right now we're collecting, basically making a list of things that we need to make sure we get home, because we do understand that you will need some of these some items that we might be putting together at home for them to learn from. So delivery could be different than the hybrid model because the hybrid, for the most part, will not have live components to it. This 100% online learning will have a teacher from Ames that will be teaching this class specifically. So they will be able to reach out to individuals. They'll be able to have small group work or live to the whole group. Those are options. I can't tell you at this point how much live, how much remote, and how much independent practices there are, but I do have a sample schedule that has been put together just as to give you an idea on what it might look like. Now, I'm going to start down here because this is down here is if you can't stick to a time frame. Say you need to start, like, I want to do 100% online, but I need to be able to start that at 5 o'clock when I get home from work. So if that's the case, some of this might be an option. You will really have to work that out with your individual teacher on how, and we'll have a little bit more guidance for that teacher on how we can provide this, but this would be how much time, like, you would need to watch the videotaped lesson. And then maybe this 80 minutes down here would be divided into, okay, we had this 15-minute phonics lesson. Now we have some practice work for 10 minutes. And then we have this 15-minute video lessons. And then we have some independent practice work for you for another 20 minutes. And so this 80 minutes would be divided up into, after these different online lessons. Now, there could be, for this 100% online, it could be live sessions. So if the teacher divides this up as scheduled times, because they know 3 times during the day I'm going to have live sessions, I need to at least have a schedule out. And then during those times, you might need to log in, the student might need to log in to be there for. But the other times they could go to, well, I need this 15 minutes to watch this video and then do some independent work. So really it'll be a mix of these two. I just wanted to give you 2 examples of what it could look like if you want to be a real structured person. If you wanted the flexibility to do it a little bit on your own time, you would have that option too. So I have been told that the live lessons that are taught at this point, in some way, we will be able to offer those virtually as well. Just in case you can't make the live lesson, you might have an option. But again, we will have to get that information out to you when we're a little more solid on it. Accommodations. We will have conferences with students, IEP students, or with all students we'll have conferences. So any accommodations that need to be made to the IEPs or 504s or anything like that, we will also do. It may look a lot different than what you're used to if you're choosing this 100% online learning, but the IEP team will decide what is best, for each individual student. So that's the 100% online learning. If you're ready right now, hey, that sounds like something we could do, get online and choose it, please. If you're going to sign up for the hybrid option, is right here. So the hybrid in person, what I mean by that is the days you are attending school. So it's going to look similar to a typical day. Obviously things will be different, but it'll look as close to a typical day as possible. You'll be interacting with your teacher. We are telling our teachers at this point that they should be kind of changing their mind frame on how they're teaching. Really, they're going to be teaching remotely, and they get the pleasure of having those students in person 1 day a week at this point and half the time later. So, but they're still going to be really going through the mindset that I'm still teaching kids at home and I'm teaching here. I'm going to do it very similarly so that everybody's getting the same material. We will have new instruction happening every day. That means on Monday, we will have a lesson that the hybrid students at home will get. We will be giving to those students that are here on campus or in the Fellows building. So just so you know, the second day, Tuesday, we have a different set of kids on campus, but everybody had that learning on the first day, and we can move on for new learning on day 2. And then, and we will move on. Now, we're not going to be so strict. We're going to not give the teachers we're not going to be so strict that we say, you know what, their kids really didn't get that, I need to extend a lesson. Teachers are going to be able to judge where their kids are at and extend some lessons when they need to. But for the most part, we'll be sticking to a schedule across the district, really on some of that learning. So it'll be close within the district. Combination of typical and in-person recording lessons could be used. That was in the online, because like I said, the taped versions will be going out to everybody else. So they may use those in the classroom as well and teach the kids how they should be using those or utilizing those videos at home, so especially early, that might happen. So now if they're at home, again, I have a hybrid sample schedule that I might open up here in a minute. The times are only for reference. You do not have to have that time. These are not live lessons. There is no live lessons for this hybrid at home. Okay. So just keep that in mind so that you can do it when you have time during the day. And we do know that there will be some times your kids may need help with some things. We're not going to be able to get around that. And in that case, that's why we're flexible. If you need help with your reading, maybe you hold the reading till people come home. Tell somebody who maybe is a little bit more comfortable, let's say math, somebody's a little more comfortable working through their math with them. Maybe you wait to do that until the nighttime. But I have tagged some time frames here because some people like structure and would like to just start at the beginning of the day, work through everything on a time frame, give them breaks within. That's very possible. All right, because like I said, these are all recorded lessons or individual practice opportunities. So you could set it up that way. I'll let you dig into it another time. Or you could set it up this way, like you saw. This is very similar. I think it might even be the same as the 100% online learning one. They could do it when they need to. If you're not going to start your classes till 5 o'clock at night when you get home, so be it. Here you go. Here are the lessons. We understand it's going to be tough for some parents to do, but we ask that you do as much as you can, and we will supplement and we will do as much as we can to touch base with those kids as often as we can. If you're not able to, we want to be there for them. So, but this could be another version of a sample. Again, they're all samples. New instruction every day, curriculum, continuity between the 100% online, the hybrid when you're at school, and the hybrid at home. There should be a real continuity between all three of those. Small groups in the classrooms. We will be doing small groups in the classrooms, excuse me. We're going to still try to social distance in the classroom when we can. We know that at times we may not be able to get a full 6 foot, or we may have to shrink that down a little, but that is why they're wearing masks, and they will be required to make sure they have those masks on correctly and throughout the day, but especially in those times where they might be within 6 foot. It won't happen much, but it could happen. Services like IEPs, 504s, EL students, ELP success counselors, they may be pulling students individually, or they may be pulling students in small group from different cohorts. That we couldn't get away from. We just don't have the manpower to teach everybody individually throughout the day. And so we may have to. Now, if those kids do get pulled from different cohorts, we will not let them be within 6 foot. They will have to wear a mask. The desks that they use will be their own desk in that room. So whatever room we go to, they should be assigned a desk, and those desks will get disinfected when those students leave. There will be time in between students that are coming in. So we're still trying not to do this, but when we have to, just know that that may happen throughout the day. But we're trying not to, and we're going to do our best not to. The phase, it's possible during the phased in approach. We have less of this. When we get to the 50%, we have a little bit more. And a lot of people have been reaching out because, A days or B days may work better for their family, or daycare. You're sharing daycare with people. So we understand that, and we will try to accommodate some of those requests. However, we want to make it clear to everybody that we will not be able to accommodate everybody's requests. We are going to try to do some of that. So if you get a hold of me here at Fellows, you get a hold of me. If you have that request, I'll send it on. But we won't be able to accommodate everybody. I just know that. Just so you know, that there'll be some way we'll prioritize those and take care of them. I already talked about breakfast and lunch. That's for people that maybe aren't listening to this webinar here. Recess. bottom line is we're going to have zones throughout that they are going to still cohort at recess. Now, I do want to say the recess is going to be one of those times we believe the students are going to have to go some of their day without a mask on. This is one of those times where they are going to be outside for the recess. When they are outside, they will be allowed to take off their masks at recess and play. We will try to sanitize as many, some heavily touched surfaces possibly if we can, but it is not a guarantee that like on this playground, we're going to be able to disinfect everything and let it sit. We just have too big of a building to guarantee that all day. So the students will be hand sanitizer or washing their hands anytime they leave the classroom. But especially recess and when they come in from recess, so that if they did touch something that maybe was infected somewhere, that they are now sanitizing and washing hands as they enter the building and as they're in their classrooms. So just know that we will have some mitigation efforts there, but they will be allowed to play. And that is important. The socializing there is going to be important, and we understand that it is going to be one of the times that we're letting our guard down a little bit, but we can't keep those kids in masks all day in the classroom and not give them a break. So the teachers have been told by me and by many of the other principals that they are going to have a little bit more freedom this year to get up and go walk outside, be 6 foot apart from each other, to take the masks off, especially early when we're trying to teach that stamina to the students on to keep that on. I mean, it may be it's 5 minutes we can keep those masks on. We need to get the kids outside, take them off, come back in, and then we get another 10 minutes and we need to go do it again. It may be that quick here at the beginning, but we're going to have to get them used to it. Anything you can do at home to start introducing them to that mask would be very helpful, and we would appreciate it here at school. So anyway, the zones, they're going to be assigned a zone at recess. So your classroom might be in zone 2 today, maybe this week, as teachers are going to have to decide how often they want to rotate zones. But there's 3 possible zones for recess here. As you can see, we have outdoor classroom spaces set up too, because we are encouraging all teachers to teach outside whenever possible. Because if students are 6 foot apart and outside, we're going to allow them to have their masks off. And then we do have some art, music, PE designated zones, because I'll talk about related arts here in a little bit, but we're encouraging them to be outside as well as much as possible, as we will not be using their classrooms because those are shared spaces between different classes. And again, here at the beginning, we're gonna go with this, and we may change it later on in the year, but for now, we're not gonna allow those places to be used, with an exception of PE in some instances, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So I think we're good there. Let me see if I covered everything in the recess zones. We've ordered here at Fellows lanyards for students when they're out at recess. They will be able to put their mask on their lanyard, tuck it into their shirt, and keep it fairly clean outside. So just so you guys know, they're breakaway lanyards to minimize any choking hazard or anything like that. So that's enough on recess, I suppose. Visitors to the building, we are discouraging, here's the district guideline, we're discouraging any outside entities from coming into the building. The approved list is right here. If they're not on this list, they would need to be cleared through the district level. And so I have had some people, what about this club or this activity after school? All those requests need to be, on a normal year, need to go through the district, through our website. And so you can try to get those approved. I don't know what the district stance is on before and after school clubs, outside entities coming in there, but I'm guessing that they're going to discourage those too, but I don't know that. Student teachers, practicum students, mental health services, AmeriCorps, AEA and IEP, AEA for IEP, or if they have to observe students, therapy-based services, school pictures, and state required DHS people are going to be allowed in. That parents are not on this list. Keep that in mind. If you need to talk to your student, your child, please call in. If at very least we can set up a video chat with you and them. But for the most part, if you need to drop something off, call the office. I think we're gonna have a drop zone outside. We'll come out and grab. You just need to tell us who the stuff goes to, and we'll get it to those students. But we aren't allowing anybody to come in the building. So if you're used to walking your child to the classroom, that will not be allowed. Related arts, band and orchestra. Let me see about these. Band and orchestra lessons are going to be virtual this year. And so they will be done on the days that they are at home. We're not going to take them out of class on the days that they're in the building. So the details are still being developed there, but just know that you will still have that option. As far as large group, I don't know where we're at on large group band yet. The last thing, we had talked with some groups, as in maybe doing some smaller ensembles this year, but none of that's been decided. So art, media, and music will bring their lessons to the general classroom. We don't want to use those shared spaces between first grade coming to that classroom and then right after that, fourth grade coming to that classroom, and we didn't have time to get things cleaned. So we're not using those spaces for those three classes. They're going to come to the general education room. Or outside classrooms. Like I said, we're giving them designated spots so they can go out anytime that the weather is decent. PE will be able to use the gym right now with face masks. So I know that sounds odd and it's a large area. We can revisit that later, but right now we'll be starting the year. If they had to do PE in the classroom, they would still have to have face masks on. So the things that they would be doing in PE during that time probably will be less strenuous activities, maybe yoga or stretching, something that maybe doesn't get their heart rate up real high. Maybe they're learning about a game rather than actually playing the game, and then they go out another day and play. So just so you guys know that if we're using a gym station right now, they will have to have a face mask on. That can be revisited another time though. All classes, especially related arts, are going to be encouraged to be outside. I've gone over that. Related Arts will also be providing lessons virtually for those that aren't here. So it is, if you look at the schedule, you're only going to see your each related arts teacher once during the first month of school in person, but you will see them every week with a virtual lesson. So just so you guys know, Related Arts will have 4 lessons, one for each class, that will be going out from fellows every week. Library books, we're going to be brought to the students. We met with the TTL's library specialists. We met with them today. So we're getting an idea about their plan. They have a very good plan, a solid idea on how to get books in their students' hands. We will be sending some books home with students. They will be quarantined when they return books for 3 or 4 days, so that we are confident that we're able to put the books back out there, and that's through some guidelines that they have found. So the older kids will be able to request books through, I think it's Destiny is the library browser we use. They'll be able to choose their books. The librarians will put those books together, bring them down to the classroom as well. So, band, orchestra, I talked about related arts, yeah, so we should be good, sorry. Success students, IEP, ELP, 504, ESL students, any of these tier 2 or tier 3 supports, you will still receive these in any model that you choose. It just may look differently than differently than normal, I suppose I would say. During the welcome back conferences, during these dates here, any amendments or changes to these things will take place, and we will agree upon those then, so that we're able to start right away at the beginning of the school year with those changes in place. Again, those will all be IEP team decisions. So we'll have to work through those. These IEP welcome back conferences, we may schedule them for an hour. They may not take that long, but I think we'll be scheduling those for a little bit more time, probably 20 minutes on the other conferences, but that could change as well. Students are going to be grouped in cohorts whenever possible, but these are the times where they may get pulled from different cohorts. If they ever are, I guess I want to stress again, 6 foot apart, they'll have masks on, they will have their own desk. Those desks will be washed in between another group coming in, disinfected. So there you go. A question that we're receiving a lot of is, oh, I can't see the bottom of my slide. Hold on. Can my students attend classes 4 days a week because of their IEP or 504? And I'm going to add in there, or because they're a success student or something along those lines. Yes, they can. However, certain criteria need to be met for these students. And I have referenced a flow chart here that you can take a look at. I will actually be updating this. Just recently, I received a revised flow chart that adds, it's 2 more pages onto this, that also adds some other equity options for students that have needs, but maybe they don't need to be here 4 days a week, but we know that they need extra help in some way, shape, or form, that it allows for maybe one day of additional school attendance for whatever reason. So, but those are we'll go through the flow chart. If there's a yes, then they'll qualify. If they're all no, they will not qualify. So pretty set in stone there. So that's those. I will update this before I post this slideshow on Facebook. Dismissal. 310 dismissal might be brand new to some of you. So I wanted to highlight that to make sure everybody knew that. Dismissal for K-5 students moved up to 310. This gives the teachers time to prepare virtual lessons for the next day or the next week. So just know that we were building in some time for teachers there, because we're asking them to do a lot this year, and it's going to be time consuming for them. So that
Mr. Cole, Mr. Cole, could I just interrupt? I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
You're on a roll. There's a lot of questions in the Q&A.
Absolutely.
And so our district leaders have been trying to answer those, but we were really hoping the building could answer, because some of those questions are more specific to the way things will operate at fellows. So if any of the staff that's on here could jump on and answer some of those that are more specific to fellows, that would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I know we're running out of time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I tried to narrow this down as much as I can. It's tough. But yeah, so anyway, 310 dismissal for everybody.
You're doing great. There's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Lots of information. You're doing great. Thank you.
The order of dismissal is here. I'll let you guys read through that. But we're trying to get there's no times associated with it. And then there are some childcare options that have reached out to me. And so I put those up there that you can look into if you're interested. All right. Questions? Mary, Lindsay, where are we getting for questions? And if you have some you can answer, you can pose them to me. It's up to you.
Great. So one of the questions you just kind of skimmed over was, how does dismissal work if you have siblings from one family? Can you talk just briefly about that?
Absolutely. Let me go back to that. So this number one, I'll answer that here. We understand that, that some of the, in the past, this hasn't been done, I don't think. And the teachers really felt strongly about those families that you have a kindergartner that's dismissed and then a 5th grade student, they're waiting there and they aren't able to get out. They have to wait for that 5th grader to be dismissed. So we're going to first at 310 dismiss anybody that has multiple children, so they can meet their sibling somewhere in the building, and they can exit the building, get those cars out of here, so that we then can start dismissing, different grade levels at a time. And when possible, we tried to keep them separated in the building, except for the kindergarten and 1st graders. We were not able to figure that out. So there's the dismissal order. I would just point you to this slide.
Thank you. Another question we have is about approximate number of students per class. And that would be online, 100% online, but also in the hybrid model. Do we have any idea of class size? Savan, you're muted.
Do that a lot. Excuse me. It's not necessarily a fellows question, but I think I've heard the answer a few times. So if somebody wants to correct me if I'm saying the wrong answer, but it sounds like around that 30 mark of students. It sounded like that's where we're at. Now, I don't think anybody could tell you right now where we'd be sitting for those online teachers, because we just don't know where we're going to end up with the amount of teachers that we have available to teach those classes. And then the amount of students that are actually going to end up on 100% online. But, I think give or take some 25 to maybe just a few over 30 would be a number that might work. But there is going to be a number. So for those of you who think that, well, there's going to be 100 kids in my class, I don't believe that that's going to be the case.
I can jump in.
Thank you.
Mr. Cole. Yep. You're right. We don't have those rosters completely aligned. We still are getting requests in. So Friday, when the deadline closes, we will put that together, and we will know more about what those numbers look like. We know that the class size in the buildings will be small, especially in that 25% phased in, probably looking at less than 10 students in a classroom.
And before all this hit, I think our classroom sizes in person were relatively small, manageable numbers. So, I think that's different K1 and 2-5. So.
Another couple questions about students who walk and bike to school. Can they use that path that comes up McKinley, or what's some guidance we can provide families around that?
Question that I have no idea about McKinley. Is there any guidance either of you could give as far as these fellow families on that one?
Yeah, in the past, some parents and even our neighborhood walkers will walk up that sidewalk from McKinley Drive and then walk across our playground. I'd say that sidewalk can be utilized. We just want our students to walk directly to their grade level door.
And I think there have maybe been some issues with the amount of people dropping kids off over there. Maybe I've heard that. Is that correct? So we'll need to be careful on that. But if it's a problem, we'll get that information out to you guys.
Another couple questions about some precautions that classroom teachers are taking in their classrooms to keep kids safe. We've heard maybe a couple of questions on table dividers or spacing of things, if you could speak to that.
So for the most part, the only tables that we have in our building that we're going to utilize at this point would be at the kindergarten level. Other than that, I think we have desks in all the other rooms. And with those kindergarten tables, at this point, with 50% capacity, even at full hybrid, we should have enough tables in the room to where we don't need to share on any given day. I had originally instructed that 3 extra desks be delivered to those rooms, so that even if we had more than 8 students in the room at a time, that those desks could be spread out and utilized for those students. But with the spaced in approach, we don't need those in there. So we're going to get them out for now. And then if we need those, we'll bring them in later. So the tables would be used like an A student would be on it. It would be disinfected. The whole room will be disinfected between days. So we're not worried about the next group coming in, the B group the next day or later on in the week, because that space will be disinfected. We don't have any dividers or anything like that. We don't need it in the lunch room because we're not eating in there. And then other than that, we're going to be socially distanced in the classrooms.
Can you clarify again for students that are in the hybrid model, what the work will look like on those days when they're at home, learning from home, what those learning pieces will look like in terms of a recorded lesson, what some of those practice opportunities might look like?
Yeah, so let me see here. So right now I know we have some, let's say with reading units of study, we will have some mini lessons that are recorded. That recorded lesson could be shown independently to the student, and then I'm not 100% sure if it's then leads into a practice opportunity by that mini lesson that we have, or the teacher will have some independent practice and stuff for that student. I mean, for a little one, it might be now after we've practiced this, you're going to grab your book, you know, you're going to take your computer that has this ebook on it, and you're going to go read with your stuffed animal out loud, you know, for, you know, twice through the book, or, you know, that's just an example of something that might happen. You know, and then for Envisions, it might be some practice opportunities. There may be opportunities to actually print out the work. That would be a classroom level decision on some of those, or, you know, how they collect the data. A lot of that will be done, you know, differently per teacher. But I don't know if that answered your question quite right. If not, Christy, did you have?
I could just jump in and say that we're really looking at all of our instruction from a virtual standpoint, because we know students will be accessing us, at least in the first phased in model, more from a remote standpoint than on campus. And then even when we transition back into the 50%. So we're looking at some research based around flipped classrooms, blended learning, where the direct instruction is taught more through a video where students are watching that direct instruction, and then practice opportunities are built in Google Classroom by your child's either online teacher or their teacher that is on campus. So teachers will be knowing your students and looking at what it is that they're needing for those practice opportunities and instruction. I'd also say that the lessons will continue through the week. So if your child is on site on a Monday, and the students that come on Tuesday, they're getting a continuation. So they're not getting the same lesson that was taught on Monday. They're getting a continuation. So whether your child's at home or at school on Monday, they will be accessing the same instruction and very similar practice opportunities. Those small group feedback, conferring types of activities are what's happening when students are on campus, but the lessons will continue throughout the week. So I hope that helped
Right.
explain that as well.
Yeah, the only other clarification I would provide is that in the hybrid model, your child would have the same teacher, whether they're in person or when they're learning from at home, it would be the same person. So the instruction would be really connected to what they've done in the classroom to what they're doing at home. There's been a few questions about if a student is in the online model, 100% remote learning, and then they choose to come back to some in-school, like a hybrid model, how is that rostered? And will we be able to be put back in the same class if students are kind of choosing to go in and out of those couple models?
Yeah, the answer to that is we're still working out the logistics. They would not have the same. So if they're in an online model to start the year, that will be staffed by a different teacher than a hybrid teacher or a teacher that is on campus. So if they go from online to campus, they will likely have a roster change. If that was the question there. If they go from hybrid completely remote, they would then again have that roster change. If we have larger numbers of students that are coming back on site, there'll be some logistics that will need to work out there. I would also add that our remote campus teachers will be working closely with the PLCs or the grade level teams that are working on site. And so it might be a switch for a teacher relationship with the student, but the work and the activities and the experiences and the resources that we're using are really tightly aligned. And so we're hoping to eliminate some of that transition that may happen if they were moving from state to state or one school district to the other. And we're pretty committed to that work.
Mary?
Yes.
There's a IEP question and I accidentally clicked to answer live instead of type. So the question is, if a child has an IEP and the family chooses 100% online, can they still come into the building, let's say once a week for some specially designed instruction? And the answer to that is yes. And they can, the special ed teachers will be conferencing with parents the week before school during conferences, and you can set that up and amend the IEP to fit what's best for your child and family.
There was a question about success support. If a student is receiving success support in either model, they're used to getting some intervention every day or almost every day. Is that something that would be provided in the hybrid model, whether students are on site or at home? And also, is that part of the 100% virtual model as well?
So I think I might need a little help on the 100% online model. As far as the success here, we will be providing those opportunities here. And I still need to visit with the staff on how we will get that done virtually, if that's an option. But I'm unsure on the 100% online learning.
So just like we'll do family or parent conferences at the very beginning of the year with hybrid students, we'll also be doing that for our students that are rostered online or remote only. And those will be decisions and support happening set up in small groups during those parent conferences. What are the student needs, and how can we put some of those small groups together? My guess is that will happen in more of a synchronous fashion and small group at a scheduled time. So that would be a synchronous part of that online experience.
And this flow chart right here, is my screen still sharing? It is, isn't it? Right here, I will update this. And there is some more accommodations than just to show you which one it was. This flow chart here, we'll be working through another flow chart that's similar to this, just a little bit longer. And it does have some success things on there that we'll take a look at, and we'll want to meet the needs of the students that are success students.
Savand, I do want to point out our time. I think, Mary, if there's a couple more questions in the Q&A that you want to pull out, but we will have to start wrapping up this question. There's really a lot of good questions, and so we really appreciate that. Savand, are you entertaining questions via email as well? I know there's a lot going on, and so I think
yeah, so what we want to do, as far as any unanswered questions today, I think Mary and Lindsay are going to copy and paste those from the chat right now. If you've asked those questions and we have not answered them, we're going to put a Q&A together here in the next few days, and we'll get that pushed out on Facebook. I'll get this slideshow out first, and if people want to add questions that they may have on the Facebook post, we will add those to the question answer as well as they come in, or at least point you to a slide if it's answered directly in the slide. So so that's kind of how we'll go. Mary, was there any more like yes or no or anything real quick we might be able to answer?
There's so many great questions. I don't know if there's any that are just yes or no. There's so many great questions, but we will absolutely put together a Q&A to push out so that you are getting your questions answered. So keep them coming.
Yep. So I'm sorry, sorry I spoke a little bit too long today. There's just so much information. And believe it or not, I cut this presentation down in order to get it to you in the, 50 minutes that we were able to before we stopped for questions. So I apologize that we didn't have a longer question answer session, but hopefully we'll be able to have that Q&A posted for you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys and all the well wishes from everybody that's reached out to me here in the district and in the community. I'm so happy to be here at Fellows, and I'm excited to begin the year. We're ready. We will be ready.
Mary and Lindsay, do you need any more time to pull any of or were you getting them as we go?
You're muted.
Sorry, we could use just a few more minutes to grab the last few that were just posted.
Okay.
While they're working on that, I'll just talk these childcare options. These were 3 options of people who were putting together some daycare stuff that you can look through and see if it's something that would work for your family. PTO, plug PTO. They're not going to be able to do a lot of the activities that they normally do, but they still they're itching to help. So if you're interested in helping sign up this year, please go ahead and do that. We almost got to the end.
We got all the questions. They're recorded.
Right, great. Thank you, everyone.